Welcome to our experiment, the 100 Person Project. I am Bill Carell, and this is my investigation. Simple questions for 100 people. This is a research project to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. Now, the questions are fixed, and all the interviews will remain consistent, with the variable being the actual participants themselves. It's as if I'm having you, Roddy, come sit on my porch, share your ideas so I can learn about people. Although we're unsure of what we will discover, if anything, when we are complete, we remain very interested in the people, the process, and your particular story. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. What is your full name?
Radmila Khamzina.
No middle name?
Rustamovna.
That's great. For those of clearly you're from Armenia.
I'm actually from Baku, but I'm Armenian.
There you
I'm
go.
from Baku, Azerbaijan, but I'm Armenian.
How about that?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Lived there prior to moving to United States permanently.
Good. And how long have you been here?
So it'll be it's almost 30 years. September will be 30 years.
Fantastic. Now, do you prefer Radmila or Radi?
Rada is what my short name for Radmila.
Okay. And that leads us to our next question. What is your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
So I didn't really have a nickname growing up. But the funny thing is, when you shorten my name Rada, it's actually a word in Russian. Like when you ask somebody, when you ask a female, because there is a gender, gender specification at the end, whether you're talking to a woman or a man when you ask certain questions, right?
Sure.
So Rada means when you're asking somebody, Tirada means are you happy? But you're asking that a female. But if you were to ask that to a male, you have to say tirat. So it's so that determines whether you're talking to a guy or a girl. But
Thank you. Thank you for that.
The funny thing that my aunt actually calls me, and that's between my aunt and I, just because it's our little inside joke, being that I am loud and I have a sounding voice because I talk loud without realizing at times. She calls me megaphone and told me I should have been a sports spectator because I'm so loud.
She call you megaphone in English or
in English? Yeah, she calls me a megaphone, or in Russian.
Yeah. So Rada, when did you first notice what color hair you had?
Oh, that is a great question. Probably started more pay attention to what hair color I had when I was a teenager. Like when I started, well, I was already in middle school, probably around 14, 15, when I kind of started noticing some kids dyeing their hair. So that's kind of I looked at my own hair, like, oh, so what category I fall into? Brunette or brown or whatever. So
Perfect. So what is your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
So it all depends. I love to read. So to waste time, I like to either go to the Cove in Old Weathersfield, sit by the river and read, or I go to a little mini park in Old Weathersfield and go sit on a bench and read when it's warm out. Or I just like to intentionally waste time with friends by going out for a drink and talking BS.
And you're pretty good at that.
Yeah.
First-hand knowledge.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite movie to watch alone?
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's a good one. There's actually, I don't really have a favorite movie per se, but there are some really good movies I do like. More of an older movies like the Pianist with Adrian Brody. It's a pretty great movie. The Schindler's List is another one of my favorites. Really great movie. The Promise with Christian Bale that came out on a 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, which is coming up on the 24th. It's going to be 107 years, the 24th of April. So those are just some of the movies that I think are great and I would watch over again.
Yeah. They sound like they're very emotional movies.
They are, but history is history, and it's just good to know your history.
Yeah. Yeah. This next question is one I'm really looking forward to asking you in particular. If you were to have an action figure made of you, what superpower would it have and what colors would its uniform be?
Oh, wow. That is a really great question. If I were to be a superhero, I would want to have the ability to see the truth, like the people's true heart,
Yeah,
because then you know who they are as a person. Uh,
absolutely.
so, because I just think it would be helpful to either try to help them, and if they're not if you can't help them, then you just stay away from them in order to, make sure that your quality of life continues to improve so you can help others to improve their quality of life.
That's really generous. I love it, as a matter of fact. And what colors would the uniform be?
I would say red.
The whole thing, all red, red cape, red mask. I think
Yeah.
that'd be pretty
Well, the
cool.
mask we can make it black. Gotta make it a little pop.
Oh, okay. A little
So,
accent, right?
yeah, with a little accent.
That's good stuff. So the next question is, what did you want to grow up to be when you were 5 years old?
To be honest, I don't know. I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I was 5 years old. It's
Hmm,
not something that as kids we were asked when we were in school at that age. We probably were asked that question when we were older, but I just don't recall of like what I wanted to be when I grew up.
that's interesting. So the funny part of it is, where were you when you were 5 years old?
In Baku,
That's amazing. And what was your predominant language there?
Russian.
Russian. How about that? I'm looking forward to spending time with you. So
Same here.
here's a good one. What is your greatest accomplishment?
Oh man, that is, ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I guess it's what one's defined in terms of accomplishment. Um, I don't really know. Uh, you know what? I don't know. Oh my, I can't think of anything. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I literally am like can't think of anything.
And you know what? That's perfectly fine. That is a rarity, to ask a question that there's no answer to. You know that?
No, I didn't. Because
Yeah, no,
most people,
seriously.
when you ask them, they, they pretty much could tell you, like, yeah, let's say my biggest fit is I accomplished my degree, or my biggest fit was, um, I accomplished this. I guess I could say my biggest fit is learning to understand what it means to be stuck in your head and become self aware,
Yeah.
which is pretty huge because when you are self aware, then you can improve the quality of your life and then help others figure out to do the same.
So when you say self-aware, are you talking in terms of what some people might call mindfulness, more or less having an ability to listen to yourself listen?
Yes, mindfulness.
That's pretty great.
It's being aware what it means to be, once you understand what it means to be stuck in your own head, you start to become aware of things.
Yeah.
It means you stop seeing things as how you are, you start seeing things as how they actually are. So I guess that leads me to one of my biggest accomplishments, which is actually took me years to get to that point, and I'm still working on myself. Is the ability not to assume anything.
Wow,
Which
that is a
is
monumental task, it seems to me. And I could see how you'd
well,
never be done with that.
it's in human nature to always assume and judge, right?
Yeah,
And expect. So I've learned not to assume anything and not to expect anything.
that's
Because
interesting.
when you assume things, a lot of times you end up assuming things that might not be true based on how you perceive things.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah, and it also seems so many people are just comfortable, being in that space where they think they know.
and it has part to do with being stuck in your head and seeing things as how you are and not what they actually are.
Right. That's huge.
So I would probably say that was two of my biggest accomplishments.
I'm glad we took a minute to work on that because that is a terrific greatest accomplishment.
Again, it took me a good 14 years to get to that point. It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But when it did happen, it did make me realize that it was a pretty decent work that I started like in 2006 when I started literally pulling myself away from all the negative people, not necessarily bad people, but they're just negative in nature. People who just complain all the time because I used to be a complainer.
Mm.
Still guilty of it from time to time, but again, I've learned to become aware. Right? But it was 14 years of me working on myself, and I'm still work in progress, and I still have long way to go is for me to get to this point.
That's excellent. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I think it's important to be self-aware because when you're self-aware, you have the ability to control your thoughts. You have the ability to control how you react to things, and which in turn will determine the quality of your life because most diseases starts from here and not from physical, but people don't realize.
That's amazing. So, who is your favorite person to listen to?
I have a few actually. I have few that I absolutely love to listen to. Um so I love Jim Quick. He's an incredible human being. Interesting fact about so Jim Quick is a leader in the space of accelerated learning, speed reading, and memory. So he works with like celebrities, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies to help improve their memory, teach them how to, learn faster and how to speed read, which is an essential skill, especially when you're a CEO and a 500 Fortune company. And in today's environment, when the information comes at you from every direction a lot faster than it did, let's say 30, 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Before the existence of Google. Um, so he's one of my favorite people, but what makes him so incredible that as a child, at the age of 5, he had a traumatic brain damage, which resulted in him losing the ability to comprehend and to read, which also caused him to be introverted and caused for him to have insomnia.
Mm.
uh, all the way up until third grade, the teachers used to get so frustrated with him because, um, you know, he wasn't able to comprehend. And so he got so frustrated and he just did not want to hear, the negative aspects of the way the teachers would approach him. He would just say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, I understand it. And instead of sleeping at night, like most kids did, he would stay up under the blanket reading comic books. And he retaught himself how to comprehend and read. But he still struggled. He still struggled even throughout college. And so while he was in college, he fell down the stairs, re-injured her brain, ended up back in a coma, ended up in a coma for I think 2 or 3 days. And after he got out, he said there has to be a better way to learn. And so he finally, and that's what he does. He developed his own system, and that's what he does. So he's a guy who could walk in a room of 100 people, and by the end of the night, he will remember the name of every person in that room. And this was a man who was deemed a boy with a broken brain, who had no ability to remember or comprehend, and just show you that what a human potential and mind could achieve.
That is absolutely amazing.
So he is definitely one of my favorite people because this isn't one of those miracle stories where, he got hit in the head and woke up and he's a genius. No, it's nothing like that. So
Hard
uh
work, huh?
he's one, and he finally wrote a book, and everything he talks about in the book is scientifically backed up. He talks about the top 10 brain foods, how food impacts our memory as well, not just the things that we do and the habits that we have, as far as impact our lives. He's one. Joe Dispenza is another one. He's a believer in using your mind to heal yourself. So he talks about energy from a scientific perspective, and he breaks it down. He actually wrote 4 books. And the interesting thing about him is he himself used his mind to heal himself. When he was training for triathlon, his bicycle was flipped, which caused him to go up several feet up in the air, falling and breaking his spine in 6 different places.
Wow.
The doctors told him that we need to have you on the table right now because we need to put a stencil in you. Otherwise, you're going to be wheelchair bound for the rest of your life. So his background is given that he understood physics, and he always in the back of his mind knew that your mind is very powerful. And because he was a chiropractor by trade who understand the human anatomy, have used the tool of visualization to imagine his spine of reconstructing itself in a 3-dimensional view in his
Mm.
mind. It took him 6 weeks for his mind to become completely still. It took hours and hours of training of 6 weeks for him to get his mind to become completely still to be able to do that. 9 weeks later, he was back out there training. He never had the surgery.
Amazing.
So he wrote 4 books, and I've read all 4 of them. And Evolve Your Brain was one. The second one was How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. The other one, the last one he wrote, the third one was You're the Placebo, and then the fourth one was You're the Supernatural. So he's another one that I like. Ed Milet is another one whom I really like. A great motivational speaker who also has different speakers. Grant Cardone, Simon Sinek, Les Brown, can't forget him. Who can't forget Jim Rohn? Can't forget him either.
Yeah.
There is one more that I'm missing. Let's see, there's one more that I'm missing that I like. And all those people come from nothing. They don't come from money. They
Right.
come from broken homes, dysfunctional environments. Like Grant Cardone had a drug problem as a teenager. Doesn't come from money at all. Ed Milet comes from a really broken home. His father was an abusive alcoholic. So all these guys literally come from nothing, and they figured out how to create something. Oh, Gary Vee. That's what I was thinking of. Gary Vee is another one. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my favorite people that I listen to, because they provide a lot of a content that you could take with you as part of the self-development, continuously working on yourself. So you're constantly feeding your mind things that's going to help you succeed and grow and keep you on that path so you don't kind of like stray off.
That's interesting. That is a great question for you. And thank you. You just gave us a half a dozen people to go look up.
You're welcome.
So, on to question number 10. Please complete this sentence. When I grow up, I'd like to.
When I grew up, I like to have the financial freedom to have the ability to do whatever it is I want. I don't want to trade dollars for hours or hours for dollars. So that's it.
Good for you.
Financial freedom is the way to go.
Yes.
And trading dollars for hours and living to exist, or as I like to say, in life, you make 2 choices. You either work to live or you live to work. Pick yours. Most people live to work, and I want to have the financial freedom. So when I grow up, I want to create the financial freedom to do whatever it is I want at any point in time without having to be tied down to an employer.
And so what do you think you would be doing when you have that financial freedom?
Uh, it could be various things. Obviously, one of them is traveling and seeing the world because with today's technology, you could pretty much do things anywhere from anywhere. You could make deals happen while you're sitting at the beach because technology in today's day and age enables you to do that, which wasn't the case 20, 30 years ago. Um, probably like do some stuff to help. Like I would help my church. You know, go to Armenia and help some of the orphanages there in Armenia because
Mm,
you know I'm a proud Armenian and Armenia is dear to me. Even though it's not a place where I was born, but it's a place that's dear to me.
mhm. That's great. And I'm letting it soak in, so I can really feel the greatness. So, what is the most important thing in life to you right now?
To me, is the relationships with the people that I have that I value. To me,
Yeah.
that is the most important thing. The relationships that I have with people.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that help you grow, succeed, and just there for you when you need them in some type of shape, way, or form.
So, after you're financially independent and are free, what would you like to leave in the world after your life is done?
What type of legacy I would like to leave? I would like to. Uh, how can I explain it? When I go, I want to be remembered for the things that I've done, but not for the things that I had.
Interesting. Please say some more about that.
Whether I've had some positive impact that helped change an individual's life in such shape, way, or form. Influence hopefully a lot of people to do better with their life and seeing that, there is a better way, that you don't have to be government dependent, that nobody will ever do more for you than you'll ever do for yourself. Like once you understand that, then it just opens up a whole lot of doors.
Yeah.
So if I could help more people and influence their life in some sort of way that's gonna help them improve their life to go after what they want, then I guess I did my job.
Not too shabby. And now we're at the baker's question. When you go to a bakery and you order a dozen rolls, a good bakery is gonna put an extra roll in, right? So the baker's question is, what is the thing that most people misunderstand about you?
Wow, that's a good question. I actually don't know. I I don't know.
Well, take a look.
Hmm. In today's day and age, I offend a lot of people. Most people think I'm callous and I'm a heartless because I tell people like it is. So not to get political, all these free hands out that I speak against, like free student loans, every time I say, hey, you took out the loan, you pay for it. Why should I have to pay for it? Or why should I have to pay for somebody going on medical leave? You decide to have a kid and now I got to pay because you want to go have a kid? No, no. See, things like that, people think I'm being a jerk. But the reality is, I am not responsible for anybody but myself. I'm not here to be handing things out. You are not my responsibility. You are your own responsibility. So in cases like that, people view me as I'm a jerk, and that's where I'm misunderstood. At least, you know, particular crowd of people. So
I've been around you in some of those conversations, and I would also say it's not a high priority for you to correct their misunderstanding.
no, it's not.
I think you're pretty good with however it lands.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Well,
That's
that
that's
that
true.
that
But
I have.
other than that, I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, what is it that people might misunderstand about me? Um, I don't know. That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to ask some of my close friends that know me because I would be curious to see what they have to say about that.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
have various, um, every person that you have friendships with is going to be different. And so it just would be interesting to see a different perspective of my close friends who know me, what they think people would misunderstand about me. Wow, thank you. I just gave you something to think about. I'm so curious now myself.
That's what happens when you become self-aware. What are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
You're a continuous work in progress and always better than you were yesterday. And you know, I've really enjoyed this interview because though we've been friends now for several years, it's always been in kind of a business setting or a place where the conversations really didn't get to a meaningful level all that much.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you've just been wonderful, no question about it. So I'll turn the tables for a moment if you like. And Radha, do you have any questions of me?
Well, I was just curious, what inspired you to start this wonderful podcast, to learn about people just in different backgrounds? What was the inspiration behind it?
It's an interesting thing. You talked about being someone who's self-aware and being a past complainer, and now you notice when you're complaining and you can choose to continue complaining or stop, right? So what several conversations went on, usually telephone conversations with some good friends about a year and a half ago, and we were very concerned about what was in the news. And so we started a podcast called Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, which incidentally, today we'll be recording episode 100. So about 3 or 4 months ago, I had another idea because I was doing some research into some terminology that I'd never heard before,
Hmm.
and I started to see that there was apparently a very active effort on people's part to group human beings together. Like, because you're this, then you're also this, and you think this way, and this is how you must think. And I thought to myself, I don't know that people are, like they talk about, the color communities and sexual preference communities. And I don't think you can have communities with 10 million people in them, And I think at underneath all of that, everyone is an individual. So what really got me going was I wanted to hear out of people's mouths, if you ask them fundamental questions about what it is to be a human being, what it is to be you,
Yeah.
that what we'd all find is that in many cases they might have some things in common, but in many cases they would be completely unique. And I really stand on the notion that of all the people that have ever lived and all the people that are alive right now, you and I are different than anyone else. There is no one else here that's like you or me. Not exactly the same. So we have this really remarkable opportunity in this world, don't we?
Yes, we do.
So
Absolutely.
I'm very interested in people. And I thank you for that question because that's what got me going is my curiosity about what makes people tick. And again, I don't see a lot of people celebrating the uniqueness of folks in this day and age. And I thought maybe, if we could do 100 interviews with beautiful people, what would we find out that we didn't know before we started?
Gotcha.
Well, that's all I got for you. Anything else?
No, no, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for generously sharing yourself. And you folks at home,
Absolutely. Thank
you,
you for having me.
it
Appreciate
is,
it.
it is my complete pleasure. And you have an amazing rest of the day. And I'm going to sign off for right now, folks. We will have more beautiful people coming your way.
Thank you, Bill. Have a wonderful day as well. Have
Thank
a
you, Russ.
wonderful day, everyone who's on.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.